Great. So it gives me great pleasure now to invite our president, the International Institute of Marine Surveying President, Capt Zarir Irani, to bring the 24-hour marathon to an end. This was a presentation we had planned to show much earlier yesterday, but for technical reasons couldn't deliver it. But we're here now. Zarir, the floor is yours, and we'll let you make your presentation. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. I really hope this this presentation goes to the ears of the new generation of marine surveying, because it is targeted towards what I believe, what we as a constellation believe, is going to be where the surveying and evidence collection techniques are going to go in the next few years, if not less than 5 years. We're not trying to do away with the usual photographic evidence, the testimonials which are taken, heard, written down, transcribed, and admitted into courts. We're not saying for a minute that all that's happening now is going to be thrown out of the window in a hurry. It's going to stay, much like the bicycle is still around after the motorcycle was invented. That said, I really wished that there were more younger surveyors listening to this presentation than the experienced ones, because there would be a sense of resistance to some of the things that I will be mentioning. And that is the idea of this presentation, to invoke some thoughts, to see which way the technology is going to take our job, to take our product. We've heard from enough people who have said that the real tangible output and the product of a surveyor is his reports that he writes. So let's see where some ideas come through. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have a burning question or something that you want to add on to any of my comments in the slide. But I'd like to start with saying that these are purely our perceptions. Some of these techniques we're using already. I'll be showing you some of the equipment that we have and are in use already. So moving on straight away. Well, new technology, like we'll be talking about most things, a pen and a paper, the ink and a paper representation of a surveyor's finding was in its own right an invention in the 1800s, and it was a new technology then for surveyors who were probably surveying boats across the rivers and across small coastal passages for probably centuries before the pen and paper was invented. Then came the era of black and white photography, where black and white photography was looked at and was commented upon as the new thing, saying who will believe that this is the real picture of that log or that little tumbler that's fallen off, and how do we prove it? And it had its own resistance to be accepted. Then came the typewriter, where in the mid 1880s, where people started writing typewritten reports, and there came the question saying that how can you know that this is actually the surveyor's finding, and the surveyor actually is indeed writing this himself, because we cannot know that it is the surveyor just by a signature. It might be somebody else's comments, or he might be influenced and things like that. If you read some of the older testimonials, you will see that this is something that was the most resistant to acceptance, in terms of so much so that some of the reports were written down with the conclusion being in the surveyor's own handwriting, not just a signature. Rest of the report and facts might have been typewritten, but that was that technology lasted a good 80 or 100 years until 1980s when the computers came about. Not internet yet, but the computers. And there were telexes before that flying around with small notes from surveyors or instructions coming into surveyors' offices in telex form. So that brings us from the 1980s to 2020. We're talking about some 40 odd years of the way we are reporting on computers with photographs stuck on 2 pages. In fact, some of the OCMIF reporting is even without photography. They don't want photographs in your report. And yesterday we had a comment from somebody saying that photographs are actually not required. Just the surveyor saying this and signing it off should be good enough. Well, these are opinions, and there will be obviously two poles to a rod. But the question that we ask is about 50 years when we are reporting on a computer, sending emails, reports via emails, sticking those photographs or now digital photographs and sending them out, is that now seeing the end of the daylight in the sense, are there newer ways, like the typewriter moved in, like the black and white photograph techniques moved in, and the hand sketched diagrams were done with? Are we on the brink of using better evidence collection techniques? You will know very soon with some of the things that I've got collected here, with all the gizmos that I have. I can show you some of the ways we are using this. First and foremost, let me tell you that most of these techniques are value add. There is no way at this point of time and in this market conditions, any client is willing to pay you more just because you're reporting differently. Now, to start with, let me tell you that this presentation, as we speak, is being actually transcribed. We've seen that in enough courts and enough arbitrations that as the witnesses are speaking, what they are speaking for years now has been actually readily typewritten. That technology is extremely, extremely freely available. It is costing as much as probably $200 for a software license. And you could have everything that I'm speaking right now written down and transcribed. Now, what does this voice text converting software enable a surveyor to do? First of all, it saves a lot of time. Now, if you are a surveyor usually in demand and you have back-to-back surveys, and if you are somebody who refuses the next job because you have a report or two pending, let me tell you, you're doing injustice to your earning capability. When we started off, or when I started off, I used to have that Nokia phone which looked like a brick, and I used to actually write down my reports on that and send it out. And ever since then, I've never looked back from sending sit reps. Like somebody said yesterday, sit reps only in terms of findings which are factual, or just that I have just finished doing the survey. I have looked at the tanks and I'm out of the tanks, and I've got 3 more tanks to do. I'm coming back tomorrow and doing it. Things like that. These are situations of what's happening on the situation. Now I am on board and I'm carrying out my survey. It will take me 6 hours to do it. That's what. Now, converting the text, you might think that today a small translation software on any of your phones would be able to do a voice conversion into text. That's, I must say, as much as you pay for that part of your phone or maybe a free app, whatever. But like I said, if you go for a slightly more professional software, you'll be able to save a lot of time. Imagine writing a 10-page report, which sometimes takes you 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. Clients only pay for 2 hours or 3 hours at best to write a report. You'll be doing extremely, I mean, your business will be highly uneconomical if you spend 5 hours writing a report, but you get only paid for 2 hours. But here's a solution. We use it regularly. We actually go about talking into our phones or on our dictaphones, on hatch covers, this, that, and it all gets back sent and it gets translated. By the time we get into office, we got 5 pages of text. You just run the grammar and just reassemble the text, and it gets on with the answers. Now, here's a video that I would like to share, which I personally did while I was doing the short course in Southampton. On a weekend, I went out and did this job in Montenegro. I was in UK at that time, and here's a testimonial of it.
We have recently hired Constellation Magazine to do a full yacht survey for us in Montenegro. The whole process was done in a very professional manner. They were very prompt, very diligent, and kept me updated on a daily basis. The nice thing about it is I did not need to be physically in Montenegro because the whole survey was done live via Skype. It was a very innovative way that is new to this industry. It saved me time.
Right. So that said, I'd like to highlight the fact that this survey was done because this particular gentleman didn't turn up as promised, because he is going to buy the yacht from Montenegro. The only other thing I could do is to keep him virtually with me, and I Gataband my phone on the helmet and plugged it in with a power bank and ran the entire survey as if he was right next to me, as if I was talking to him and showing him things. Let me tell you this, that to be honest with you, that was the very first time that I tried something so outrageous. And it was actually an accident. It was me trying to get this gentleman to see the boat himself. And this was in 2013. We've done several live surveys since then, of course, to only selective clients, particularly those who are not here, especially large high net worth consequences of our work, and they've been well received. Again, there's only one thing I can say. It is unorthodox. It is new. It needs more and more acceptance. Then the more people do it, the more it will be accepted. But it saved me a lot of time. All that this gentleman then needed was a punch list of saying that I've seen what I've seen, send me all the pictures you've taken, and send me all the findings that you think are required to be done. I'll get it across to the broker and tell the guy to negotiate on those points, and he actually bought the boat as a result. I never told him it was a good boat or it was okay or it was worth buying, what its value was, nothing. All that was seen by him live was what I was seeing. And then what, according to me, needed a little bit of attention or rectification was what was given to him. Now, there are advantages only if one accepts and embraces technology early. Like they say, the early bird takes the worm. Now, I cannot tell you that all of our experiments have passed. We've lost a few drones in the water. We've had accidents with our cameras and things where we thought we were clicking. There was one pre-purchase inspection. I was going around on deck wearing that, and I was thinking that I am actually recording everything that I'm seeing. How's that? I look like Matrix, but there's the camera right there. The camera is seeing what I see. If you can see it closer. Point is this, that when and it is recording in that little side frame. It has a 64 MB chip there. The point I'm making is that this was not on. It's a small little camera. It's very good in the sun when you are actually wanting to capture evidence or re-look at things that you've seen on your survey while you're writing a report. It's nice to run a video and just to remind yourself of what you have seen. If you've not taken all the notes down, or there's less time and you're actually doing a quick deck round, noting down what you're seeing. But if you missed out on some things, this comes really in handy. But it's recording everything instead of walking around with a camera like that. I mean, it's much better if it's seeing what you're seeing. But technology and early acceptance of technology, again, $200, not very expensive. It's thoughtfulness that is more expensive than probably the equipment itself. It's available in the front office. Anybody going for a survey, needing it, just signs it in, takes it, next day he returns it, and downloads whatever he's recording into his computer for his future reference. Right. Now, the impact and accuracy of reports is reliant on such evidence. If you capture something like this and bring it and keep it in your archives, you can test if there is a counter put by the other party on your findings. Now, this happens usually because every party is sending their surveyor, every underwriter, every interest is having. There are times when we've had a barrage of surveyors come and do one particular claim. Let's say a steel coil, the charter's guy, the owner's guy. There's the owner who says it was the port guy wants to put his man. So there'll be easily 4 or 5 guys on a small little claim, which is definitely a negligence on A, B, or C part. Everybody has got a point of view, and if you captured enough evidence to stand by your finding, it really will help. So, as compared to the cost, the tools are a priceless entity in a surveyor's arsenal. That's the point we're making. Now, some of the cutting edge technology that is available, I just showed you. There is a camera in your thing. We've got this other camera which we use quite efficiently. I don't know if you can see. It rotates around a ball. It can be clipped on a curtain, or it just can be left recording somewhere, looking at you, not looking at you. We got a 360-degree camera, as you can see, very useful in cargo holds. If you take a picture of it in this room, you'll probably get exactly what's underneath the light and what dimensions you're looking at. These are equipment that come in great use when you send out a pre-purchase report or an on-hire report or a damage survey report of, let's say, a container cargo hold where cell guides are damaged, and you stand in the middle of the hold, take one picture, and the client goes around looking at it on the screen. It's of great value at the cost of probably $50, maybe $100 more than a conventional camera that you get these days. But the pictures that this camera can give you gives you a good perspective. It's a 3-dimensional view of what you're seeing inside a cargo hold, inside a tank, collision damages, groundings inside a tank. You know exactly from which frame to which frame it is damaged. Of course, you got to go a little higher to take a picture so you get the entire perspective. Now, mobile apps. We've been running our app for the last 5 or 6 5 years at least. This year we've enhanced it further. That's our phone app, and it is able to actually tell our client a lot more than what an email can do. Most importantly, immediate updates. They're not photographs or messages sent to the client. It remains, the pictures remain in our server. We allow them to come and have a look at it and go away. So the important bit is that technology need not be expensive. I take the exception of a phone app because to develop this, it took us almost a year, and is now fully running, and it's at phase 2. If I tell you that if I keep this phone and this little piece in my pocket, which is smaller than my phone by almost, I would say 40% smaller than my phone. If I tell you that this was actually a drone that we actually fly and can go right up to the cargo hold, you can easily come next to your phone into your pocket and goes as high as the top of a cargo hold. Take a few pictures, comes back down, you fold it back, put it in your pocket, and carry on with your survey. It has a very small camera right there, and it captures what you need to see without using a ladder. Most of the time when you see a black patch on top of a cargo hold, you know that there might be some cargo on top of that frame. From the altitude where you are, you won't be able to see it. All you got to do is send one of these small things up, take a few pictures, come back down. That's your job done. You don't have to struggle. Like John says, health and safety. It really helps. That's the box it comes in, and it's an extremely useful gadget. We haven't yet had the budget to give one to each surveyor, but we got a couple of these, and they're there on the front office. If surveyors need it, they take it and sign off for it. That's the 360-degree gear that I was talking about, and that's the old war horse. It's a camera. As you can see, it's quite a camera. It's 360. Sorry, it's a intrinsically safe camera. That's the vision, and it's one of the older ones that we had. We bought it in 2009. So you can imagine we changed the batteries, and the batteries outside. The silver thing you can see is the battery. So these are some of the equipment I just wanted to share with you, and let me play you a small video now of the drone that we use for our surveys. You see the James? Randy, can you give me a hands up if you can hear properly? Is it able to see it? So all that is what the drone is able to see. It's going right up to the cargo hold, close up to the bulkhead. Right. Moving on. Moving on to the next one. Now, what the drones help us doing. This is not the drone we use, just a picture of one of the really more expensive drones. But as you can see, it's caged up inside, the camera is inside, the props are inside. So you can actually send this without seeing where the drone is going. Maybe in an enclosed tank, you can send it high up and it'll keep bobbing and bouncing around and taking pictures and going into all sorts of areas where you might not want to go into a slippery tank and take pictures and risk your health and safety. So it has high digital photography is possible, videos are possible. In UAE, we need to register it. We have registered ourselves as a drone company, and then we keep adding drones to our listing. In case we lose the drone, they know exactly what the drone was, who can retrieve legally. If in case you don't, probably in this country it's get into real trouble. So it is a unique way of collecting and storing data. I must tell you that it is, like I said, first mover's advantage, and it is extremely important to highlight the fact that things may not work out if the technique, there's a good chance that the drone might not come back to you. It might get damaged, you might lose some money, and none of the clients are going to compensate you for it. So you got to be extremely careful. It is a risk, financial risk that one takes to get into this space. It does have, the drones do have a range which you should be aware of, so you shouldn't be sending them away outside the way that it can obey commands. it'll carry on doing what the last command was. If you tell it to go up and it keeps up outside the range, it'll carry on and never come back. I just showed you the cameras that we use already, and they have their own usage. This one particularly, the button cam, you don't need to in the room. Once you take permission from the master and plug it onto the curtain, you can continue a lot of things that will be useful. By no means these are spy cams. Definitely you need permission before you can use them. 360-degree camera views, I mentioned about it, extremely useful in bulk carriers, taking pictures of damages, groundings in tanks, looking at frames, which ones were damaged, and getting a holistic perspective of an enclosed space. Extremely useful. That's a snapshot of a 360-degree camera in 2D. So you can see all the four bulks expanded up, but you realistically take a picture, I can actually show you all around one perspective. Of course, there is a limitation to this software. This technique, the software needs to be downloaded because it is important that the viewer whom you're sending this photograph to has got a 360-degree viewer downloaded. The viewers are free to download, much like the video viewers, VLCs that you get. It's a small patch, but a lot of companies have restrictions on downloading external software on companies' laptops or desktops. So you need to tell them beforehand that you're going to be sending them a 360-degree camera and send them a link saying that if you want to see the picture, you'll have to download this link. Otherwise, it's a useless effort. That's another photograph of a 360-degree camera. That's the guy taking it, and he's taking it with the cherry picker, with the guys, with the vertical ladder there, with a small generator in the middle. So you're getting a whole perspective, but it's better to see it than in 2D. Again, the cameras which are in glasses cannot be used in enclosed space. These are not replaceable shades. You do get a day and night version, but we stuck to the outdoor version. Most of our work is outside on decks and inside holes where there's adequate light, and Dubai has no dearth of sunlight. Button cams, we've mentioned it has the ability to record video and audio. It's a small portable design. We've got the intrinsically safe camera. These I think are pretty commonly used. In fact, some tankers have them on board these days, so that tank entries can be captured. Cleanliness of cargoes can be captured as a. These are waterproof and also shockproof. Well, they say one picture is worth 1,000 words. Until I did the Ovid course a couple of years ago, and I was told that the Ovid report, which has 400 questions to be answered, and does not need any photographs. You just need answers to our 400 questions, no pictures required. I was probably the only one out of the 16 in the class who kept asking, how can we write a report without a photograph? But there is the oil majors who completely trust the surveyor and his viewpoint and what question is answered, and that is taken at face value. There is no need for an photograph as an evidence. So there are different perspectives, like John Noble said in the earlier session. Knowing your client is key. If the client doesn't need photographs, or he doesn't value them, or he cannot download 360-degree viewers, you don't need to market that to them. You don't need to mention it as a value prop, but you don't want to use it. You may still take it down for your internal reference and report writing. There's no point in telling him what he cannot do, or he is deprived of, or he doesn't choose to do, or he doesn't have the regulatory permissions to do it. But I believe photographs are here to stay. Although audiovisual are taking a larger prominence in evidence collection, photographs will stay for a long time, much like the sailing boat is still around, much like the bicycle is still around. with the motorboat and the motorcycle all over as a preferred two-wheeler. I think photographs have their own charm and they have their space and their role to play in evidence collection. Right. I'm not going to steal the thunder from Milind. I think Milind gave a fantastic presentation. He's more passionate about photography than I am. But photographs, if they're taken, they need to be stored properly and they need to be archived properly. We have a weekly check on everyone's jobs that they've done. And one of our secretaries actually verifies whether all the pictures that are captured are actually in the server against the file number. There's nothing left on people's laptops or in their phones. Because the one thing is to click pictures and then forget about them or not be able to find the picture after a few 100 jobs are done. Some of these cases go on for years, as we've seen. Well, audio recording devices, again, are useful. These days, you can have one in your phone, but there needs to be a clear permission taken. And if possible, the consent should be recorded before the recording is taken. If you're taking interviews of somebody, it has to be clearly asked to the interviewee, saying that, can I record you for my internal use? I will use the voice recording to write my report or to replay it to see if I've represented what you said correctly or not. It does go a long, long way. Or then you can take a notepad and scribble yourself to death, miss out half of the things. Well, most lawyers will say that's the right way to do it. But if it's possible and you have the permission, I think you should go ahead and use it. Sample storage, all these are extremely flammable samples that we have drawn, other than the coal sample on the right. It is combustible, but it's not flammable. I must say that these don't have any room in a surveyor's office. They should be out. We keep it out in our Dahid farmhouse in an open area where it is where it is shaded, but it is out of our office as soon as we can. We ask the client several times whether we want this sent across to the labs or disposed of, or send it across to wherever they want it to be sent, but we get rid of them as soon as possible. But again, if they've been asked to be kept with you, it should be kept responsibly. Ventilation is key. Like I said, we store it in an open area, and we report monthly to the client that your samples are still there, they're still safe, nothing has leaked, nothing is broken, and no rats have crawled over it. Mobile app, I mentioned to you, we use it as regularly as possible. We actually name the surveyor who has not used his app on a particular job. Now, I'm not talking about draft surveys and things, but we're starting to use those. We are developing our reports within our app so that it can be dispatched after being verified straight away from the app itself. Well, clients benefit from all these things, particularly from our mobile app, which is the most successful, especially the younger lot in our client's office stand up and listen to what we have to say about these new technologies. And it's brilliant to associate with the newer generation, because they're the ones who are going to be in seats of decision making in the next few months, maybe years. So they're a nice lot to please. If you are interested in the longevity of a business, catch them young, impress them young, make them in love with your techniques, your ways as a surveyor. As long as it's efficient, as long as it's not costing them too much more, and you're making a difference in the way you're presenting your work, they definitely like to listen to it. And there is enough value in it in terms of memory recall. Because remember, something has to make them to call you back for another job. If 4 surveyors have done 4 jobs in 4 months for a client, you got to be doing something differently for them to remember you better and prefer you over the 2nd or 3rd job, not the 4th and 5th job, which anyways probably you will be remembered. So if you are able to create this differentiator, I feel that you will be in easier to get repeat business. As long as you still do the job well, as long as it's still ethical, and everything else is still a tick box. All those common denominators cannot be taken away. Network systems. Again, archiving is extremely important. All our files, as soon as the job is done, it's scanned and there's a digital space for it. And over a 5-digit file number, it can be retrieved. It stays there for the longest time. When a hard disk gets full up for the year, we take it off and keep it in a remote place, which can easily plug in and data can be removed. We've not yet gone cloud, but I think over a year or so, we will start looking at sending all our old data up in the cloud, which we have been retaining for more than 5 years or maybe 3 years. But anything newer than 3 years will be still kept on hard disk, because there is an element of security and encryption going wrong in the cloud space, which we've heard enough criticism about. Well, that's my time, guys. I think I've finished efficiently 5 minutes before I should have, but thanks for listening. I think I've shown you the equipment that we use physically, and I wish there were more younger audience. I hope after the live presentations are gone, maybe they would be interested to listen to what I've said, and maybe it might generate value to those. That has been the motivation behind this presentation. But thank you very much. And thank you, Mike, for giving me a second chance.
I'm glad you took it with both hands, Zarir, and we got the technology sorted in the end. So that concludes the Marine Surveying International Fest 2018. And thank you, Zarir, for bringing it to a fitting end. It's been a fabulous initiative. We're looking forward to getting some feedback. And who knows, perhaps this time next year we'll be delivering the second fest. So very much appreciated, Zarir. Thank you. And to those of you still online, that, as I say, concludes the events now. So many thanks for being with us, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mike. And may I extend a very big thank you. It was your initiative, brilliant starting point. I think it's new. I think we should do more of it. It's only going to grow from here. Now we're going to talk about this as much as we can to the fraternity. At least the local fraternity has stood up and had a good listen to this, what we are doing, why we are doing it. But a very, very big thank you to you and your team who have stood by you for all the 24 hours on a marathon run. I think it's incredible commitment shown, and I congratulate you, and we're very, very privileged to be part of it along with the Nautical Institute as Constellation Marine. And we'll definitely support such initiatives in future.
Zarir, thank you for your kind words. And we'll see you soon. We'll speak to you soon. Over and out. Goodbye.
Bye.